This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. We are here to improve your financial situation. And it's one of those things that sometimes we don't want to think about. It challenges us. It's stressful, but you're working. You may as well put your money in the right place. So far in this podcast series with our next guest, we've talked about investing, saving, emergency funds, money mindset. Now we're going to get you in your lane, so to speak, and keep you in that lane in terms of staying on track and improving your financial situation. He's the man behind RMT Financial Coaching. Richard Toral is back with us. How you doing today?
Thanks. Glad to be back. Glad for the warm weather, finally.
Yes, we're both in the New York area, and it's been a while.
Yes. Yes.
It almost feels surreal to walk outside when this has been one of the harshest winters in the Northeast in many years, and then to feel like, wait a minute, is this real? Pinch myself. Yeah, but it's 80 degrees finally. This is all part of what you do and how you work to keep people on track. So where should we begin today? We've talked about all of those topics and more along the way. How do we pilot from here?
Yeah, so I want to talk about like the tracks I offer as services, paid services, and then this way it kind of leads everyone to all the topics we've discussed, like the financial freedom, the stress-free, um, which come kind of like a side effect of all these tracks that you put yourself in through.
When you say tracks, can you define that?
Yeah, so I have three tracks. So like stage one is the foundation. So this is for beginners. It's the first track, and this is specifically for people that have high debt. They have low or no savings. They don't have an emergency fund set up. And this is kind of like the crisis mode that people find themselves in. So this work is intensive in this track. We're focusing on building the essential, the frameworks, the budgeting, stop the debt cycle, stop the bleeding, and establishing that safety net.
So I'm detecting this as different tiers, and that particular track, that's kind of the critical track where somebody
Yes.
needs to really tighten things up. You need to really work diligently with them to get them back on track, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, that's the beginner. So our main goal there is to take them out of crisis mode. So, we do interviews with the client for this, if they qualify for this one, kind of like to see where their financial situation is at. Um, and we help them get out of crisis mode. So the first kind of thing is to set up a starter emergency fund so that they don't feel cornered. They have something, a bit of a safety net to fall back on. And then the immediate thing is to look at their budget to see where we can find that margin, that profit. Like if we're treating it like a business, let's run your expenses and see where, your expenses are bleeding out, and let's see what we can cut, find extra funds, and then we can throw that at credit card debts. So that's basically that focus, the goal for that track.
Gotcha. Okay, so what's the next tier?
Stage two is the growth accelerator. So that's intermediate. This is for clients with initial savings who have already eliminated all consumer debt, and they want to accelerate their journey to wealth building. So if you've completed the first track and you've gotten rid of all your debt, this is the part where you fall into the next level and you kind of build your first 3-month emergency fund. The beginner was just a starter one, just to get people away from crisis mode. And this one we set up their first 3-month emergency fund, so we make sure that they don't fall back into consumer debt. And then we focus on completing any other debt that they may have, student loan, any lower interest debt, because credit cards are the highest ones. We maximize emergency funds and create your personal investment blueprint. So this is where you can start saying, okay, now that I've gotten rid of my credit card debt, maybe I have some student loans and a car loan. What else can I do while I'm paying those off? You're making your monthly payments on those. You don't have to rush. It's not crisis mode.
Mm.
You can do both at the same time. You pay cheap debt off, and then you also invest on the side as well and start building that wealth.
How do you define what cheap debt is?
Anything below like 8% interest rate.
Oh, okay. Which
Yeah.
kind of unheard of.
Yeah, well, mortgage loans, yeah.
Mm.
What's really unheard of is some mortgage loans are at 2%, and it's like, wow. So those are the things you don't want to pay off right away. That's cheap debt. You can keep paying your monthly payments on that, but you maximize somewhere else. We call it positive arbitrage. So if you can invest money that makes you 10%, versus your 2% you're spending on a mortgage, you're netting 8%. So you're better off investing that money instead of throwing it at a 2% loan.
Interesting. It's amazing what credit card rates are now. I know, just pivoting for a
Yes.
moment. Um, mind blowing, like 30%, 28, 9%, somewhere around there. Some of them
Yes,
are.
yes, yeah. And people just, some people might not know, but the credit card companies are saying, "Oh, here, pay the minimum and you'll be fine." The minimum payments, but just paying the minimum sometimes doesn't even cover the interest that they're charging you. So
Hmm.
if the interest, if you have a high balance, your interest amount could be $100 a month, right? You're in the 80s, 90s. Those minimum payments, they're only $40, $50. So
Hmm.
it's not even covering just the interest payment.
And we look at the credit card rewards. Woohoo, fantastic! But if many times they don't outweigh what you are paying in interest. It offsets a little bit, but
That
they got it all
arbitrage.
figured out.
Yep.
They all got it
Yep.
figured out. Mm. What's another track that you can tell us about?
The last track, well, the third track is for advanced. So this is the wealth builder. This is after you've paid off all your debt, basically. So this is maybe the last thing you have is a mortgage, right? That's the last thing you have. And now you're trying to build more wealth out of that. So you have a 6 month solid emergency fund in this track, or we get you there. And then the focus just shifts to advanced strategies, optimizing investments, maybe some financial assets that you may have, incorporating long-term like tax, like planning, like stuff like that.
When somebody engages you for any of those tracks, what's the what's the communication like? What's the procedure like? How often do you connect with them?
Yeah, so we have like we communicate weekly. These all these tracks are 6 month minimum because you will finally see some results at about 6 months. Um, and you have to put a lot of work into it too. So, but we meet weekly. It could be via email or via WhatsApp, just to keep on top of what your expenses have been. Every week we meet on your budget versus actuals. Like, did you go over on something that we planned on, or did you meet the goal that we set? Um, so those are the things we do. We also offer free, like, so if you're moving from stage one to stage two, you get your first free month off. If you're moving from stage two to stage three, the same thing, you get your first month off. And then if you're moving laterally, like, let's say you're still on stage one and you're renewing for another 6 months, you get 50% off if you're in the same track, because it might take you longer depending on how much debt you have. So it might take you longer to get to like to the next track.
It almost sounds like if you move from track one to track two or two to three, whatever it is, um, that you're getting a reward, I guess, for being good.
Yes. Yes, I have a reward system. Yep.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's rewards for referral. So if you refer someone that comes on, you can get 50% off your first month. And then also we call it the program progression bonus. So if you're
Mm.
progressing laterally, it's just the 50% credit. If you're progressing up to the next level, then it's 100% for the first month. So yeah, it's a reward.
Would you say that it is critical that we're mindful of this is not an overnight situation? It's going to take time.
It's going to take time. Yeah, I have clients that it took them a year to see some difference, some relief. And I tell my clients always don't give up on the first 6 months because you won't see results right away.
Mm.
The first 6 months, you're basically kind of, especially if you're in crisis mode, you won't see any debt relief just yet. You're still you're building an emergency fund, a starter one just to get you through the first 6 months so that you don't have to use it or tap a credit card. So I always tell my clients, you won't see results right away. It's like the gym. Like go to the gym. You start working out, you're not seeing results right away. So don't quit right away. But a whole year goes by and you will not recognize yourself. Just like the gym, a whole year goes by, you see the muscle, you see the tone, you see the growth, you've seen the change. The same thing with your finances. You wait 1 year and you'll see that you're in a total different position from when you started. You're
Mm.
either less stressed, you're less in debt, or you're debt free. I got one client, it took 1 year to get that client $40,000 off of credit card debt. And now they're debt free. And it's
Wow.
like that's, it takes time.
Well, I guess it's also you need to be intentional and do your, meaning the client has to do their job and stick to the plan as opposed to, and we all,
Well,
things happen. Like I was out, I didn't expect to spend $100 on dinner, but a friend showed up and it was just one of those, whatever. You got to stick to it as much as you can if you want to sit. Same thing going to the
yeah.
gym.
Yeah, and that's why we meet, we on a weekly basis we check in. We check in to see, okay, so you've sent me these transactions that have occurred on your accounts, and then I plug them into the budgets, I plug them into the cash flows, and I see what has happened, what's been paid, and how much money came in from your employer, and let's see what we can do with the profit, with what's left, right? The margin. And that's what we work with. So, and yeah, life happens. You have family that came and visited from out of town, and you know what? This 1 month, you went over budget on something. And it's like, okay, it's not every month thing. So next month, let's see what can we do? How do we adjust? And then we can get back on track.
Mm. Love the insight. We resonate because we've got some emails. Can we jump into those?
Sure.
Beautiful. Instant feedback, Steve at gmail.com is another way to reach us. We got Andy in St. Louis who says, I'm looking to replace a second vehicle and wondering if I should register it under my business name. I don't really use it for business, but I'm wondering if that's a wise financial move.
I would not. There is a way for business owners to be able to acquire a vehicle. I think there's a IRS rule where you can acquire a vehicle of a certain weight that you can use for business purposes, and you can write off the amount, probably up to 100%, like up to I think the first year, a couple of years. Um, yeah, if you and they have the IRS has strict rules for using a business vehicle specifically for business purposes, or you have to keep track of the mileage that's
Mm.
used for business to deduct only that percentage for business use. Yeah, that would be a hard question.
Mm. And without any more detail, and it also sounds like, yeah, that this Andy's not really using it. He's admitting it's not really a
Right.
business vehicle, but maybe looking at the advantages of registering under the business. But if it's really not connected to that, you could just use
Yeah,
it personal
and the IRS
registration.
will
Yeah.
right, yeah, and the IRS will require like a mileage logs. So if you get audited, that's what you have to present as backup. It's the mileage logs that you're using, that you're tracking for business purposes. I think that's one way to do it is you do it via mileage. The other way is to write off the price of the vehicle, but that's if it's 100% for the use of the business.
Um, it just brought up a thought. When we talk about mileage logs and record keeping, is it true that the IRS requires actual receipts as opposed to if you got audited to say, well, no way, I've got, my credit card statement and it's right there and this is there and this is there. They want to see actual receipts. Is that true?
I'm not sure. I knock on wood, I have not been audited. Um, I would assume the receipts are probably, when all the research and reading that I've done, they always say to keep receipts. And we're not talking about the credit card statement. So if you purchase something and you got an email with the receipt for that,
Yep.
that's what you should be keeping. Print out that email, create a folder in your computer, save it. That's what I do. And yeah, if you have paper receipts, take a picture. The statement, like if it's on a credit card statement, I mean, that's the method you're paying with, I guess.
Mm,
But that doesn't also show you an itemized receipt. It just shows you, okay, American Express, you charged, a hundred and somewhat dollars for something. But,
mm,
the receipt will show you the itemized transactions, five, six items that add up to that amount. So that's, yeah.
mm. Um, and even that being said, you mentioned there's many different apps out there. If you don't want to keep the receipt, you can take a picture of it. It saves it, somewhere on a cloud or whatever, and just makes it more convenient, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm. Got another one here, and this is from Michelle, Ocala, Florida. She says, I am 63 and still working. I'm wondering if I should take Social Security now or wait. I've heard many different things, including that taking it early is the best advantage. Any insight?
Yes. It's like the lottery. If you win a lottery and they offer you a monthly and like an annuity or the lump sum now,
Yeah.
always take it now. You get much first of all, if you're 63, you don't know how much time you have left on this earth.
Mm,
So take it now. The Social Security, the government is counting on the fact that, people will pass away and they won't be able to collect, and then they keep that money. So they say if you wait, you get more. And it doesn't always add up either. So if you waited that amount of money that you would have extra gotten, it probably would take like 2 years to already, spend it down. So it's not, it's better to take it now. And I think you can still work
I
after a
believe, I'm not sure about
after a
this.
certain age.
Yes, and I think it depends on your age, but there's I forget what they call it, but a retirement age, technical retirement age for Social Security, depending on when you were born. Um, like in her case, maybe it's like 67, and if that's the case, from now until then, you won't get the full amount that you would be getting. I think they take a percentage
Right, they
away because you
deduct.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Hmm. So I guess you got to weigh those advantages. But that being said, you're saying take it now, take it when you can.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always best to take it if you can. Even if you're working and they're deducting, it's still extra income that you'll be getting.
Right. And like
That
you
you'll be
said,
getting now. And you can
ye-
invest that now, you can use it now, you can spend it now, as opposed to waiting.
right.
And it's never a sure thing.
Yeah.
So to wait.
Nothing's guaranteed. And it is, I guess, because I haven't seen it in years, but, they send you a statement every once in a while and you take a look at it and like, if you're 63, you get, I don't know, $2,500. Just throw anything out there, monthly. If you wait till 70, it's like $4,500. And you look at that, I'm like, oh yeah, I want that. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. But and I'm financially challenged, so I don't figure this stuff out. But I've heard that if you roll the math on it, as opposed taking it now, as opposed to taking it, when you're 70, you'd have to have a lot of time to catch up. So you might as well
Yeah.
just take it now.
Yeah, you would make more money taking it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Plus, the government's crafty. They got it all figured out based on death rates. Just saying, they didn't just make that up. There's reasons for it. Question here, and I'm going to paraphrase this because it's very detailed. This is Mitch, who is in Detroit, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com, says basically going from an LLC to an S Corp, what are the tax advantages or advantages in general? That's essentially what he's asking.
So S corps are good. You should not do an S corp right away. You should always start from an LLC because it's easy to transform an LLC into an S corp, but once you go S corp, you can't go back to an LLC. And the reason for S corps is so you have to be making like $80,000 in revenue plus, and that's where it's more beneficial, because it costs a lot more money for you to file an S corp taxes. So if you're making $60,000 in revenue and you want to be an S corp, it's going to cost you a lot more to file that way, and it doesn't outweigh the benefits, and so it'll cost you more to try to do it if you're not earning enough. The benefits also for an LLC is kind of like a pass through on your taxes. If you're any revenue you get on an LLC, it's just going right directly through your social. So
Yeah.
it's deducted right on your own tax return. An S corp, you will do it separately. So it's beneficial in that sense, and you also with an S corp you can pay yourself. So you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. And that helps because you have to pay Social Security taxes. You have to pay, I forget what the other one is. So the employer pays a portion, and then you have to pay, to Social Security basically. Um, so you can pay yourself a reasonable salary, and
Hmm.
only that amount is what you'd be paying taxes on, like Social Security and all that for that amount. And then the rest can stay in the business and you can do distributions. And then those distributions you don't get taxed on.
So,
So that would be the benefit of doing an S corp.
gotcha. Now, obviously, it's not an LLC, so you're doing your own personal taxes now. But is the business as an S corp, is that also separate taxes that are being filed?
Yeah, an S corp, you would definitely have you definitely have an EIN. So that counts as a separate social. So you would do a separate filing taxes. But to do that, you would have to do extra filings and they cost more. And if you're using a CPA for all of that, then that's definitely going to cost way more. And that's usually for businesses making 80, 90, $100,000 plus.
Gotcha. Wow. Interesting. Learning a lot today, gotta tell you. Richard, if somebody is looking to really make some financial changes, need some help in coaching, if they're financially illiterate like myself, I admit it. Numbers don't excite me. It doesn't. I loathe it. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to do that. I want you to do it. So how do we connect with you?
Email me directly at richard@rmtfinancialcoaching.com. My website is also rmtfinancialcoaching.com. And I have a link tree. It's /RMT Financial Coaching.
Beautiful. Thank you for all the insight. Also, thanks everybody for their feedback and questions. In the future, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. If you want Richard to answer anything you got on your mind, and we'll catch up next time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.